Rest is absolutely not earned. You can rest whenever you like. Because guess what? If the dishes don't get done, the world won't end. If you don't reply to that email instantly, it's also not the end of the world. Because you are not what you produce. You are not what you do. You are who you are. But if you're so busy being something else, doing something else, producing something else, and you don't get to be who you are, then that's exhausting. Here's a question for you. If the current version of success that we know all too well isn't working for us, what do we replace it with? This is one of my favorite questions to ask, because as the podcast suggests, we need to rethink what success is. And I don't think the current definition of success is working for us. And I know many of you agree. I've actually seen quite a few posts online recently about the lie we were sold, especially as millennials. And we're going to unpack a little bit of that today and start to ask, well, how can things look different? Because that's what I'm about. I'm about things looking different. Now, we've spent the last probably 10 episodes unpacking different themes of success. And I have given you insights into what occurs in my new book, The Wellness Paradox. And the tagline, something along the lines of, right, further we chase success, the more we move from true well-being. And we've done that through looking at 6 paradoxes and being able to really ask, well, if what we've been told and sold isn't working, why do we think this and what could we do? And I'm not saying that we need to totally throw out the rule book for success. I'm not saying that if you achieved it, what were you doing or anything like that. I'm just saying that maybe now is a good time to do some interrogation. Now is a time to ask some questions, because I actually think what has happened is at one point in time, this version of success served us well. It did its job. It did what it was meant to. But right now, it doesn't. And we've got to be prepared to ask what happens if we let it go. Like, not in theory, but really. And I've done a little bit of this, and I constantly find myself thinking through different scenarios around how I do life differently, or if I had to do certain things in my life, I would do them different to before, because the current version I have of success is absolutely not the one I was raised on, not what I thought I had, not what I started life with, my working life, my career. It's just not what it's about. And so I think if we can really start to ask this question, we start to realize what is also possible, which is pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. So if you don't know me, my name's Amy Green, and this is my podcast, Rethinking Success. And this episode is a little different. We're not going to look at a paradox, and we're not going to look at something that is necessarily set in stone. We're just going to step back and look at everything we've covered since we launched this podcast a couple of months ago. And I really want this episode to be an invitation to consider questions around success, so that you can start to ask, well, what have I been building toward, and where did that come from? And if I was to rethink success for myself, what might it look like if it started to stop being an idea? Is that how you say things? Started to stop being an idea? What might happen if it stopped being an idea and started being a practice? I think this is where we get the shift, right? Because for so many of us, rethinking success might be an idea, and it could come through, I wish it wasn't like this. I wish I didn't have to do this. I wish it was different. I wish I had this over that. And every time we say things like that, it's an invitation to ask ourselves, but what's true here and what's not? And why can't it be like that? And at some point, there may be a valid reason, like energy, time, money, resource. But maybe that's also an invitation to go, well, you know what, if I wish it was like this, maybe I just need to knuckle down, lock in, work hard for a couple of years and make it happen. And I think more and more as I reflect on where my life was and where it is, I've gone through seasons of this. I have gone through seasons of working hard. I have gone through seasons of saving money. I have gone through seasons of locking in on study. And they've all served a purpose, and they've all got me to a certain point. And I think 10 years ago, if you asked me what my life looked like it does right now, the answer would absolutely have been no, because how on earth could I have gotten there? 15 years ago, I came back from London after doing a 3-year teaching sprint. I have $5,000 in my bank account, and I went into a teaching position. Now, we know teachers aren't very well paid, and $5,000, 15 years ago to enter the country with and to have to my name only, and I have no parents. I have parents, but I have no relationship with parents. There's no backing or support there or anything like that to get to where I am now in terms of financial investment and career and writing books and doing all kinds of things. It's kind of mind-blowing to think about where I came from and where I got to. And I'm not saying that, wow, look at me. I'm just saying that 10, 15 years ago, if you asked me, could this be my life? I would have said absolutely not. And it's because at that point in time, the future seemed so beyond my capacity that I couldn't possibly think about what that would look like as a reality. It seemed so foreign to me. But it goes to show you that if you do want something and you work through it incrementally, life can absolutely be different. And I think success and how we define it and what it looks like is absolutely the same. And there's something really cool that happens when we start to interrogate your thinking and your beliefs and what you value and, why you think you need what you need. We've had a little bit of family news lately, and it's over the past probably 5 days, and it's been a bit rattling for us. And I won't go into the details and intricacies of that, but nearly 2 years ago, we made a decision to move into a bigger house. I work from home, obviously, so having an office space for me is really, really important. And my partner was a triathlete, and I say was because that's part of the news we've received. And he's fat, and with that comes a whole lot of gear and bikes and training and space he needs. And we've just found out that he'll no longer be able to do that for medical reasons. And it means that we can rethink where we live and rethink what our home looks like and rethink what that is. It really got me questioning, what is this attached to a version of success that I'm holding on to? Is this attached to trying to, get approval from someone else? And why is that? But it also really made me think about how life can change and seasons change and things change, and your definition of success alongside that can and will change, and that's okay. But if you don't know what definition it is you're holding on to, and if you've inherited it and you've or borrowed it and you're already aware of it, I think that's where we sometimes get caught in these loops and these patterns, and we think we should do this and we think we should do that, and I've got to have this and I've got to have that. I've got to get the degree and the job and the house and the holiday and the wardrobe and all the things. And is that really what being rich in life is about? Is that really what being wealthy in life is about? Is it really what being successful in life is about? I had a great phrase this morning while I was listening to a podcast, and it was something like, be rich in life, but don't aim to live like the rich. And I thought, wow, that's so interesting, because we have this version of success that says you're success when you make a certain amount of money and you live like the rich. And what does that look like? Designer handbags and yachts? I don't know. But if it wasn't about external pieces of rich and it was about how I defined it, what would that mean? It would mean lots of time and space in my day. It would mean not having to get up with an alarm. It would mean knowing that I have access to great food, and my home is comfortable and I can see family when I like, and I can, go out in the sunshine. And but it's the little things, I think, and we've been taught to chase a version of success that's external, that's big, that's about performance, it's about validation, it's about what other people can see. But that idea, I think, has caused so much internal and external competitiveness. It's one of the key reasons that we really haven't been able to be well at the moment. As someone who is a millennial, and I think this is for lots of millennials to understand, we've been raised with certain thinking patterns and a certain checklist and a certain way of viewing the world that have boxed us into only knowing one path for success. And for those of us who ticked that off, we either ended up with burnout or we're in a space and we're thinking, gosh, is this it? Or we got to a point and we're like, but I'm not happy and I was told I should be. Or, the finances just aren't where they should be because of what's happening in the economy. And there are so many false promises made to us. We did the right things, but the medal we were promised at the finish line wasn't handed to us. And there has to be a side of, okay, so maybe we could look at, systemic issues, and yes, those things exist, but what if the version we're holding onto just isn't right anyway? And what if we threw that out and stopped thinking if only, if only, if only, and started asking, well, what can it be? And I think there's real power in that. Now, over the past couple of episodes, we've covered 6 core paradoxes that I think play into our constant battle of understanding what it means to be happy, successful, and well in life. Now, the success paradox was the first one, and ultimately it's like the more we chase, the less we get to live. The more we achieve, the tireder we feel. How is that actually helping us? The wellness paradox is about, what we're sold as the cure is also the problem. We're sold that we have to exercise and meditate and journal and drink matches, but actually just keeping up with that on top of everything else is exhausting. The emotions paradox, we're told to be vulnerable and share emotions, but actually people don't know how to manage that. And so we've only been taught one side, which then leads us to emotional suppression, not regulation. And that's like a whole chapter or a whole thing in itself. The energy paradox, rest is not the answer, because the misalignment between the problem and the solution we're being sold. Now, don't get me wrong, rest is really important, but it looks different to everyone. But we can't just rest our way back from overworking or from intense workload or from a calendar that is just too busy, when actually we need to say no. The resilience paradox around how bouncing back isn't the goal, and we're told that the more resilient we are, the more we cope with, the more we can actually handle, so the more gets put onto us, so the more we have to cope. Like, that doesn't make sense anymore. Why aren't you being punished for being resilient? That's not cool. And then the belonging paradox, which is, in our pursuit to be independent and successful and seem like we have it all together, we've actually sacrificed our human need for belonging. And we're constantly searching for belonging beyond us when it's something we need to find within. Now, these paradoxes also shape how we view success and how we've been sold it and how we see it. And we have to be really aware that we need to let go of some of these ideologies, thinkings, beliefs, maybe even things that you thought you value that you don't anymore, in order to create and do something different with a version of success that works. Now, this is not like a rejection of society. We can't just kick everything to the curb and say, we're done with a career, because we all need to make money. There's like some truth in some of these things, even if we don't want them to be. We all live in this system. I mean, I imagine if you're listening to this podcast, you're not off grid somewhere completely rejecting the way society is structured at the moment. I imagine you're in it. You're in the game. We all live in it. And so we all need to know how to play our part in it. But that's not to say we have to follow your set of rules we were handed. We can start to question them. So it doesn't have to be complete rejection, but it does have to be a renegotiation is what I'm trying to get at. It has to be a renegotiation of the terms. Like, what T's and C's did you sign up for? Because I'm pretty sure the T's and C's I signed up for were not ones that I would sign up to now. And so you can rewrite your own T's and C's, your own contract with life, your own version of success. You just got to be prepared to interrogate a little. I don't know why I could say it so easily that time and not before. Now, there are some beliefs I think we need to let go of alongside this. The idea that more is better. More isn't always better. Someone said to me, why my mic is quite boring. I have no problem with sharing that. My life's quite boring. I actually think a boring, simple life is a great life. We're going to unpack more of that in the next episode. But I pretty much eat the same foods all of the time, especially when I'm home. I have the same foods on rotation. And someone said to me, but why do you do that? Like, you could be doing anything. Why do you do that? And I said, because we have been told that choice is better. Yes, I could have anything I want all of the time, but here's what I know about multiple choices. It's exhausting, it creates overwhelm, it doesn't help with routine or predictability or even safety, because choice actually just creates confusion and chaos. More choice does not mean more success. Just because you can have 17 streaming services doesn't mean you should. Just have one. Yeah. Just because you can eat 20 different things for dinner doesn't mean you should. Just pick a couple and have them on rotation. I mean, every now and then do something different, but like, simple, clean, clear is actually reducing chaos. Choice doesn't mean success. Choice just means, wow, like, you can have all the options, but does it actually allow you to feel stable, sustainable, happy? Choice is overwhelming. I don't want choice. I actually just want simple, consistent, sustainable. And so more is not better. It absolutely is not better. The same as that busyness is not value. You have to let this one go. Someone in a room recently, when we were talking about busyness, I was doing a leadership day, and someone said, they came across this phrase, and it was, I'm not busy, I'm just full. Like, my day is full or my week's full. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's me, because actually, to be honest, I'm not that busy. I said it. How dare I say it? Like, I'm not that busy. I'm full. I have days that are full. I have weeks that are full. I have, time in my calendar that's full. Like, today's a pretty full day. I'm doing lots of content creation, 4 podcasts, 12 reels. That includes planning and writing and scripting. Like, that's a full day for me. Am I busy? Not really. But my days are full. And so there's a difference. Busy is like running around, chaos, can't slow down, That's not the goal. It's to have full days and moments, but we don't have to be attached to busy and think that I'm only valuable if I'm busy. It's really funny because people will say to me, "Oh, you must be so busy." And I just instantly say yes. And you know what? I'm going to start saying no. You will say, "Oh, I'm not that busy. I have full days, but I'm not that busy." Wow, that feels good. Like, that is a measure of success to me. Absolutely. We also need to let go of the idea that rest is not earned. Rest is absolutely not earned. You can rest whenever you like. Because guess what? If the dishes don't get done, the world won't end. If you don't reply to that email instantly, it's also not the end of the world. I know sometimes people think it will be, but it absolutely won't be. Sometimes I get an email in my inbox and I'm not replying till the next day. Might be 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm like, oh, I'm pretty done for the day. I'll just reply to that tomorrow. Old Amy would have replied to it instantly because busyness was worth, because instant reply meant commitment. It doesn't mean I'm not committed. It doesn't mean that my worth's any less. It just means it's not urgent. And so we have to get better at understanding these things because you are not what you produce. You are not what you do. You are who you are. But if you're so busy being something else, doing something else, producing something else, and you don't get to be who you are, then that's exhausting. And so we have to let go of some of these beliefs because they don't actually serve us. And so when we start to do this, what we can focus in on with some of the shifts I've shared that I've made and some of the shifts I've shared that other people have made or that have brought to their own attention or, thought differently about or interrogated is that when you start to consider these things, a sense of spaciousness might emerge. Yeah. It might be less noisy around decisions because you all of a sudden don't have 17 streaming services, you just have one. You might get a clearer sense on what you value or what you want versus what you've been told to value and what you've been told to want. Because when you really interrogate what your version of success is, you might actually realize that, having like a really busy social calendar and going to like 3 different events on Saturdays and Sundays isn't my version of success at all. My version of success isn't sleeping in with no alarm and like hanging out in my PJs till 9 a.m. and then going out for a really good coffee and maybe seeing one friend over 2 days. But choose your version. Don't let someone else decide it for you. Work doesn't disappear. Your work's not going anywhere when you start to rethink these things. But if you decide to take your email app off your phone because success to you is about being present at home, let me tell you this. When I made that decision, it was questioned, my commitment to the job, by some people in leadership because I wasn't checking my emails 24/7. And I said to them, that's great. But if something happens and it's an emergency, please call me. I won't be checking my emails when I leave here. I usually leave between 5:30. I'm back in at 7:30, 8 o'clock. If there's an emergency outside of that time, please call me. And I can tell you in 4 years, no one called me. Nothing happened. No email was that urgent. Because no email is that urgent. I mean, sometimes there is, but no email is generally that urgent. So stop checking. It's okay to let that thing go. Your work doesn't disappear. But your time and your presence and your energy does if you're constantly checking that email app and it's pinging in notifications. And just on that, turning notifications off on everything. Turn off. Figure out how your phone works. Set some settings. Like, you have to be able to give yourself time and space to what matters. And you can't do that if you're constantly distracted. Now, there are so many things that can come to light that would expand from rethinking what success is. And I think what's important is that when you go through this, it is a shift and it is an identity shift and it does make you question relationships or how you spend your time or things you might do in your house. But what I can promise is that over time, weeks and months, it gets easier, it gets better. And you might have moments where you're sitting outside one morning, drinking your coffee going, my gosh, this is so peaceful. 12 months ago, I would have been like rushing to get to a 5 a.m. gym class and get 8,000 steps in before I even went to work. And now I don't do that because I pick and choose and pay attention to what my energy is doing. And that might be a version of success that you try. And over time, even though you'll feel like really good not going to 5 a.m. gym class, lived experience here, over time you'll realize it doesn't matter that much because what's more important is I feel calm and I can go to the gym tomorrow morning because I'm going to have more energy because I had a good night's sleep. So it's about knowing what's worth carrying over and what's not. My version of success used to be wake up at 5 a.m. in the gym by 5:30. How that is even possible with this version of Amy, I don't know. 11,000 steps a day, going back to the gym like crazy. Now my version of success around fitness is if I get to the gym a couple of times a week and run once or twice, like that's enough for me. That's enough. I'm at the gym 3 times a week. I'm training for a half marathon. That's a different story. But It's not about going every day at 5 a.m. Let's go when I feel like it. Sometimes it's morning, sometimes it's afternoon, sometimes it's in the middle of the day if that suits my schedule. But it's not about, 5 a.m. That's what successful people do. The 5 a.m. club. That is a lie you've been sold. Now, we have to start to really consider what matters for us in our own version of success, not what we think others expect from us. And this can be hard, especially if you're in a relationship or you've got children, have this conversation. What's success for us? Not what do we think we should do? What was the list that we're holding on to? What were we handed? And if you're not sure, go back to some of the earlier episodes, but I know you know. Especially when the system we live in rewards this old rule. We celebrate things like this. Oh, you bought a house, you got a promotion, you bought a new car, you got married. Like, these are the things we celebrate and see as success. Now, as someone who's not having kids and is not getting married by choice, I'm very aware there are celebrations that I don't get in life. And, society celebrates these certain things and says this is worth celebrating and this is not. As we know, because I've said it many times, I just released a new book, and one of my friends got in touch with me and said, no baby shower for you, let's have a book shower. And you know what I thought? I thought, why is that not enough? Like, I could do it. And I might do it, but there'll be people going, what are you talking about? Like, that you can do that when you have a baby, but I'm not attending your book shower. That's silly. Not everyone, but some people might think like that. And it's because society has told us that these things are valuable and other things are not. And that's based on the version of success we've been handed and we've been told and we've been sold. And I thought, wow, that's such an interesting way to look at something, because I hadn't even considered that. I hadn't even thought about that myself. And so my question, and I think this is a big question, like, what would look different? What would look different for institutions or workplaces or schools or cities or community groups or friendship groups or relationships if they were designed around a different version of success? Now, we could go on for days about what my version of different success looks like under those headings, but I'm sure you have your own, and I really encourage you to start to do this. Because if we can start to make small tweaks in our own lives around this, or small tweaks if you're a leader, whether it's in belief, whether it's a conversation, whether it's changing how we do something, whether it's saying, I know we used to really value this and think this made us successful, but let's be real, or checking our emails at every time of night, it just doesn't make it, stop doing that. That allows us to make slow changes that become big changes over time. And that's what we want. So this isn't just an individual conversation. It's actually about the individual and systemic conversation that goes together, because without the personal rethinking of what success is, we're going to have limits. And without the systemic change thinking, we're also going to see our personal rethinking of success like roots it needs to get off the ground. So here's what I want to end with. Letting go with this old definition of success doesn't have to be a loss. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It's not giving something up. It's just making room for something different. It's making room for a different version of life, a different version of work, a different version of work and life that's more yours and more honest and more real and more about how you actually want to live, not how you've been told to live. Now, that's what this whole season of the new podcast up until now has been about. And that's what my whole, purpose is about. It's about getting you to rethink, what is this version of success that you're holding on to? Does it work for you? Does it make you well, happy, and successful through your own definition? Or does it get in the way of that? And once you actually start questioning these things, and as you can probably tell, I do it all of the time, I don't think you can stop. I think you become so hyper aware of what you do and why you do it, or not knowing why you do it, then when you start to question why you do it, you really get a sense of, is this for me or is it for someone else? And that is how we can start to shift things. That's how things look different. And I think that's incredibly powerful. Yeah. When we learn to slow down, when we learn to think differently, when we learn to hold success in some spaces and not in others. And when we learn to let some parts of our life be great and the rest just be average. So in the next episode, I'm going to talk to you about the power of average and why we need to embrace it as the new normal. It is also the end piece in my book, but I am going to share with you right now, there are some parts in my life that I'm just choosing to be average at the moment, and that's okay. So make sure if you have enjoyed this episode that you like, share, tag, do the things. And as always, if you need anything, please reach out. Have a wonderful day, evening, night, whatever time of day it is for you, and I'll see you somewhere soon. Bye.